Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Second Act Actors, the podcast that celebrates people who've made a life change into acting. I'm your host, Janet McMorty, and I was and still am a medical doctor, and I decided to pursue acting. My guest this week is Clement To. Clement To is an engineer and tech guru turned actor, and we talk about everything from optimization to team sports to that television show, the kids show Dexter's Lab. Do you remember that one? I hope you enjoy our conversation. Trigger warning for this episode. This episode contains references to severe depression, so please take a look at the timestamps below for when this time in our conversation occurs. You've had a really interesting journey, I think, to get to the point where you are now. You're an incredibly creative, super cool person. So tell me about, we're calling it your first act. So tell me about, growing up and then kind of your first career before you started getting into acting.
Right. My first career. I guess. Actually, I don't know if I consider... So I studied engineering, and I was in the tech space for approximately 10 years. And I don't know if I consider that my first career, because every time I thought that's my career, but then I went back to my photos, I remembered, oh, wait, I was on all these stages as a kid. And my first summer job, first internship was actually where all my friends went to do research. I went to a production in China for 3 months when we're in this mountain. It's called the Hendian World Studio. I had my first job as, a casting director assistant. But I also had a bit of an extra role and one principal role in that soap opera, so to speak. So that was actually my very first summer job. That was me scratching my itch. Excuse me. Water. That was sort of me scratching my itch. Other than that, I was studying engineering should be 4 or 5 years, but really took me 7 years before I dropped out. And then I was seduced by the startup life, let's say. I had 2.5 failed startup. Well, the last one, it's not quite failed. It's just been hiatus since I came back to acting. So I've also worked in tech company like AMD, which makes half of your probably CPUs and graphic cards. And yeah, that's I guess that's a bit of my life, my career before acting. And most of my friends today, I think, are still from the tech world. There's tech world. Maybe I have 3 group of friends now. I have a tech group of friends from the tech world startup. I have a group of friends from the Latin dance, Brazilian Zouk specifically. And then the third circle is my acting friends.
Acting friends. Okay, we're going to put a little bookmark. Oh! I'm going to put a little bookmark in the Brazilian dance because I did not know that about you. But I want to talk about that. That's incredible. When you were growing up, did you want to be an engineer?
That's a good question. I think most kids, I didn't know what I want. Growing up, what I really want to do when I'm growing up is Superman. Well, that doesn't quite work because it's very genetic to be Superman. But I do remember one of my early inspirations is this. It's interesting because I grew up in China, right? I was 15, but I didn't consume. But I consumed a lot of Western. I consumed the books, the literatures, and then I just watched Comedy Central. So I guess I was brainwashing myself with the Western culture before I even knew how to speak English. And so I watched this show. I remember one of them vividly was Dexter's Lab. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, right? For some reason, that kid was just so cool to me. He's the little kid, unassuming, everyone bullies him. But then he goes home, goes to his, Fortress of Solitude, and it's the baddest lab in the world. And he created satellites. I was like, I want that. And so I liked science. Didn't like math very much growing up. I was good at them though, but I remember in school this is always my top three, I guess. I'm good at math, science. I enjoy business because it's kind of like a chess. The whole thinking it excites me. But what I really enjoy every second I'm doing was my drama class. So that was always my order was drama, business, and then math and science. But when it comes to choosing for college, of course, I had like talking with my dad and we make the rational choice. He told me that, hey son, if you wanna learn business, you can learn at any time in your life. In fact, like it's unavoidable. We have to learn business at some point in our life. But math and science, like if you don't study that in school, very few people will like end up studying it on their own after school. And
that's so interesting.
You make a good point. So I went to engineering. Didn't think about acting because, well, I just didn't see myself as compared to all my talented friends, not that good. My English is not that good. I don't have like the fluent local accent. And to me, it was just the logical part of my brain is like, there's no way. Like that's your second Superman dream. Like, just go be your Dexter. Like, and then we'll see how that goes. So that's what I ended up doing, trying to not be an actor for 10 years in my life.
Yeah. Were there pressures? Like, there's obviously pressure you put on yourself, kind of saying, oh, let's be the logical person. And, kind of the logical step would be go for the job that would provide, monetary, what's the word I'm looking for? Monetary comfort and stability. Stability, that's the word I'm looking for. Was there pressure from anyone else, like pressure from your parents or anything like that?
I think I'm really lucky. I have great parents. I mean, they have the usual amount of like parents, like generation gap, cultural gap, because immigrants, and the regular amount of nagging. But what I think is really rare, and I could never appreciate enough about my parents is, although they couldn't understand a lot of things I do, like what the decisions I made, although they disapprove, they verbalize that, but action-wise, they always supported me.
Awesome.
And I think that's the best thing I could ever ask from a parent.
Cool. I think that's rare, I find, from a lot of high-achieving, kind of analytical, right brain-minded people like yourself. I'm going to put myself in that category. I think it's probably rare. I mean, I had supportive parents too, but I think we're the rarity, to be honest, kind of a lot of pressure to succeed. And I think even though we are part of that, millennial generation where we were lucky in that our parents said, yes, go do what you want to do. But I think there was a lot of kind of maybe unspoken pressure, I think. I don't know if you felt that or for you just kind of put it on yourself.
Oh, I definitely felt a lot of pressure. I'm trying to think how much of that was explicitly expressed by not just my immediate family, but the larger family, and how much I was putting myself. So, like, a little more background. Like, my dad has 3 brothers, so he's the eldest, and I'm the eldest among my cousins. So even in the extended family, and he's also the more successful one in the extended family, he's always trying to look out for other family members at large. And I guess in some degree that I felt that pressure on myself, just because like he's done such a great job taking care of this extended family. Like, I feel like there's just a shoe that I couldn't fill. I feel maybe I'm not alone in this. Like, probably many children have in one area or another, they see their parents in some way that they really admire, but it will be a hopeless game trying to fill that game. And to me, that's probably the filial duty. Like, the term, the idea of filial, it's very important in the East, and I didn't even understand that or appreciate that growing up there as a kid. I really started learning so much about, I guess, Eastern culture after I came to Canada and looking from the outsider lens. It's weird. Like, I was looking so much into the Western world when I was in China, but now that I'm here, I started understanding and looking more into like Eastern culture and world. And I had a better understanding of my own culture after I came here.
Interesting. And what do you think, was there something that spawned that? Was there something that kind of triggered that? Or was it, I know as we get older, we tend to want to look more at the origins of where we came from. I know I do personally, but was there something for you that kind of triggered it?
Well, on one side, I always have this insatiable curiosity, and I really hated histories and geography when I was in high school because they just make me memorize things. At the time, I was struggling with English, so memorizing is no. But now, like, it's been so long since I've out of school. But you catch me, like, I watch history channels, I watch geography channels, like, I do this, like, I don't know how many, probably way too many hours a week than I care to admit. Like, I like these documentaries in nature, animal, geography, and history. I was like, why didn't I do this in school? So, like, so that part, just the curiosity, not just in my family history, like culture, but also just the history of humanity and the world. That, like, there's one part of that, and there's another part. I think, I think about myself and like my past. Like, I think about my own thinking, how I got here a lot, like the kind of meta thinking. But there are some pivotal moments that I think about small things, like as immediate things, but the major decision moments, I don't think I've had too much thought about those until every time, like, having a conversation like this, someone asked, and I think about it. There were a few important events in my life, and I think the pivotal moment for many of them, they actually came with, I had two very long depressive episodes, like depressions. Each were 10 months, and these were not just feeling low for 10 months. These were like debilitating. Like, I don't have the energy to leave the bed. I feel ashamed going outside and be a bother to society kind of episodes. And I think those actually informed. Sorry, such a serious topic, but I have this fly that's trying to get me. Yeah, but I feel like those two episodes really pivot some moments in me, and partially, I think one of those pivot was turned me from this achievement focused like person or thinking into like valuing like family, valuing the things that, like, if everything was taken away from me, right, my achievements, my past, that someone erased my resume, or like change it for like something bad, infamous. What if I lost my intellect? Like, what if I lost my ability to speak, or like what would be left there? And then I think for most, the answer is the same for most people's family. And I really see that, like, instead of just me trying to pay respect or honor my family by achieving things, there could be more direct. I can improve more like the direct experience I have with my family. I still have all the frustration I think a lot of people go through with their family, which comes to miscommunication, misunderstanding, but I just realized there's more room for me to make a more conscious effort to improve our relationship today, instead of trying to achieve something and everything I do is a means to the end. And then when I achieve that, they'll be proud of me. When I achieve that, I'll be able to like better serve my family. Instead of that, like just the little things I can do to improve how my life with them today. Like, I think that's one of the pivotal moments.
And do you think that was a pivotal moment that made you switch from the engineering focus into your more creative focus that you have now? Like, absolutely. I don't know, did that align with one of those depressions that you had? And do you feel like your creative passions now, and you've got incredible resume and talent, do you feel that honors that more than maybe when you were in engineering thinking, this is how I honor my family?
The first part of the question, yes, definitely. The depression was, I mean, the most immediate episode was in span from 2018. That's when it happened. 2016, 2018, 10 months. So in the 2018 one, with the most recent one, I was already seeing a therapist for like, I want to say like 12 months nonstop before that, and didn't prevented me from going through, because that was from the first depression. After I got out of it, because I couldn't have the energy to even go see a therapist during it. After I got out of it, I want to understand myself better, so like I can be stronger and not. Somehow it just didn't help. I feel myself slipping into the second one, and until I didn't have the energy to see the therapist anymore. But the second one really took a lot of interest away from me. My interest in music, I'm interested in dancing, tech startup. So it get to a point and then I remember I was having a conversation with one of my good friends, Jacob. We're on the Twin Peak Mountains in San Francisco. This is like really late at night. For some reason, we were both there, and I was seeing family. He was there for some reason, and of course, I'm always very honest about what I'm going through. So I'm telling him that I feel like don't have the life in me. Like I just don't have any. I don't know where to go, because everything I was pulled to, it no longer pulls me. But then as I'm telling him that, I remember like, well, actually, there is still one thing, and that is acting, because that's just the desire, interest I've just buried deep in me. Like I want to do, but I just know, like I just couldn't do. It's not practical. It's not smart. Like, no, right? So I was like, you know what? Like at this moment, I couldn't do anything else anyway, and acting class is cheaper than therapy. So let's anything getting out of the house. Let's just do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, and. Yeah, and I went to acting class in the beginning of 2009. Actually, having the conversation with my friend Jacob, he really pushed me. He's like, okay, I'm going to get onto you. Like, I'm going to check with you if you sign up for acting class. I love friends who keep me accountable like that.
Yeah.
So I signed up for some acting class in Toronto. I did some basic research. Didn't know where to begin, of course. Like, just start somewhere. But once I got into this acting class, all my memory, and not just memory, but the feeling that this is the right place came back from high school time and the time before that. I went through a few studios before I found LB. Again, if I don't start somewhere, I will never even discover LB. And I think LB is where I finally met challenge. Like, okay, yeah, these people are like, there's way more I can learn from them. Or like, I feel being challenged by the coaches. I feel being challenged by my classmates. Actually, that's the most important part. I think I really get a kick out of this acting class by just being immersed in the greatness of my peers. I think that's what really valuable to me in group class. Because as a good engineer or left-brained person, I did a calculation. If I would just want to price the performance, if I just want optimizing it, private class actually costs less than group class.
Right.
On the time and where you pay. And you have more degree of freedom in private class. So if I just want to like price performance, I would go for privates. But I really enjoy like just being in awe of my great peers.
Absolutely. And just as an aside, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, LB is Louis Baumander's acting school. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated or get any money from Louis or the LB acting studio. But they are just fantastic. And that's where Clement and I met.
I draw another analogy between the startup world and the acting world. I think you have to be crazy to do both. And you have to absolutely like, you couldn't do anything else. That's why you're here. Like you couldn't breathe another breath without doing startup or acting. That's why we're here. And this is like definitely not a sprint. It's a marathon. Even people who we can look at the biggest A-list. Even people who like had overnight success where they blew up, they struggled also like years before, and they're likely to struggle like years later. In some way, we're also like stocks. Just because we go up now doesn't guarantee we're going to continue going up, or we have no idea where it's going to go tomorrow. So like almost in some way, almost doesn't matter. Like you mentioned Ken Jeong, like that almost doesn't matter like where we are in our career. Like the kind of like the feeling, the struggle we have, it's the same. Like regular people, they face like they have to look for a new job. Like, oh, if they got fired once a year or a few years. For us, that's just another Tuesday. We do this like we apply jobs and we get rejected regularly on a basis, and we don't even hear feedback. That's just this is our life. Like we have to be kind to each other. Like we like, and more likely we're we're going to end up creating something together instead of competing. Because this is industry, like this is expanding industry. Like it's not I'm thinking like in tech world, in many parts, it's a shrinking industry, especially in Canada. We think about aerospace and the industry shrinking, but for the lucky element in our entertainment industry, it's an expanding industry, and we need to have more allies and we need to have more teammates, so we can elevate ourselves basically in this industry. It's not a. I think this is one of the things I really learned hard way in university. Remember that Dexter's lab? One miseducation I got from that is that you can do all that yourself. And I for the most part, I was able to manage to do almost most things in myself up to university. And that's when I really realized, like, doesn't matter how smart I am and how much I can do or how much I don't sleep, there's so little an individual can do. And that point was drilled in even more in the startup days and followed later. It's like we're never in a solo sports. Even athletes performing solo sports, they're not doing it on themselves. They need their nutritionist, they need a doctor, they need their coach, they even need their PR person. Like, you could be the most amazing athletes, like remote part of the world. No one will know you exist. You won't even know the competition exists. You have to be able to get yourself to compete in the world stage. What we do here is so intangible. It's so subjective. Whether people like the way you sound, the way you look, the way you emote, the way you carry your body, like it's so hard for like individual. And we don't, when we look at somebody else, we all have our favorite celebrities and actors, and we don't really know that are they actually the best, like because we like them or because a lot of people seem to like them. Like it's so hard because we have such a different variable as human beings. So that makes the team even more important. Yeah. We need that immediate team of support if we want to compete in the higher game. That's what I firmly believe. And if we have allies, that's going to help us even further in this game. I think this applies to not just acting, not just entertainment industry. I think that's just how our world works. That's how our human society works. And I wish that's a lesson I learned much earlier on. The very first thing we have to learn is, like, doesn't matter how powerful or smart an individual gets. Like, humans, we don't play solo sports. We're always competing in a team sports. Well, I think I started realizing at university, and I still haven't finished the transition, because just like how I do did in my startup, or even now, like I volunteer at this neighborhood association, being their, like, I guess their communication director or tech person. It's really glorified the internal IT guy. Whenever I'm doing something, like, I think that trusting someone else to do it, that's still the hard part in me. And it's not, like, I trust people, like I trust they're good, and it's just that whenever they do something that's not quite to my high standard, or like I know there's an easier way, efficient way to do it, it's just like sometimes I feel like, instead of training them, I might as well do it myself, and that kind of thing. And I just don't trust them to do it as good of a job. I even have it's crazy. I even have that same feeling when it comes to plumbing and electricity and even my cars, because I have had bad experience of people messing them up, and I was like, why do I bother to go to them? I could just do a better job myself. So, but it's that part I'm still working with. I need to be able to learn to delegate and trust.
Everything that you do extremely well and to a high level. There's no half-assing, right? Because, like, the thought would be, why half-ass something when it's yours? You have to go full out. Do a good job, work hard, never, like, only paint half of a room, paint the whole room, right? So to have people who say, I'm just going to paint half the room. For me, at least, I'm with you 100%, and it's something that I struggle with. I struggle to delegate for those exact reasons, because it's like, well, if I just wanted it done right, I'd just do it myself. And like exactly what you're saying, it's so hard because now I'm expending energy on I'm diffusing my energy around everywhere when I could just be concentrating on what I actually need to concentrate on. It's extremely hard.
I see that in every part of my life. Like my brain is a non-stop optimizer. So sometimes
Right.
it's like, you know what, go watch some history channel, go do this, because there's very little you can optimize in there. Because otherwise, I would just be looking at that, it's like, that can be better. It's like OCD level of optimization.
Yep. Do you think that helps you or hinders you or both in acting?
Both.
'Cause I could see it going both ways.
And yeah, it's the same thing with ADHD. Like,
Yeah.
I think society, there's so much about our psyche that we don't understand. Like our view on things constantly flipping. I'm in a way I'm grateful. I didn't realize that I had ADHD until I was about 27. Well, what I had was ADHD. Let's put it that way, because I never really see it as a debilitating disease or like whatever they call that syndrome. I just thought that's always part of me that's unique. Like people call me a little monkey or like whatever. Like, so I just I learned to work with it, and because of that, I was. When people switching their attention, whole different things, they get stressed. I get excited.
Yeah.
That's what I need, stimulation. So I was able to do those things. There's tasks and the ways that I do things. I wouldn't be able to do it without ADHD. But just the things that we have to learn how to... we learn the trade-off with anything we were given. Just like the optimization. To many people, intellects, optimization, usually it's a talent. It's something people thought after treats, but you probably felt this in our space, arts. We get told this all the time. Oh, you're too left. You're analyzing too much. You're left brain. You are like.
I can hear Lewis saying, "You're too logical. You're too logical.
You're too logical, intellectual." Like it was like. we were almost meant to feel ashamed of our intellect. We're like that.
Yeah, I think I should say. Lewis never makes anyone feel shame, but he can spot it in your eyes, the logic, right? And I remember him saying to me once, and this again over Zoom, right? Like, and he's just like, I can see in your eyes the text analysis and you analyzing everything that's coming through. And it's like, he's like, just forget about it. I'm like, well, I can't. That's just how my brain works.
I like to do things actually that are my weaknesses. Which in the business world, like we're supposed to maximize and minimize. We shouldn't do that. But to me, I feel like as a whole person and as again, like I want to in the future be a good example to my children. I want to be able to address my weakness.
Yeah, as a gifted child, you're told, at least a millennial gifted child like I am, yeah, you're good at this. Keep doing that. Yeah, do it more. Good for you. Good for you. And then you kind of get bored of it. But then now, as you're an adult, it's harder to learn stuff. So again, I think you have to have that feeling of being okay with failing at stuff and doing it just for the pure enjoyment of it, as opposed to, like you were saying, achievement oriented.
Well, there's a minor achievement oriented goal there too. I don't need to be world class at everything I do. Yeah. Although there's the type that I don't want to half-ass, I want to go full in, right?
Of course.
Talking about it. But their goal is I want to be good enough so that I can show this to my children. I can open the doors for them. So if there's something that one day they decide that's what they want to be really good at world class, they could be. Because if I don't show them the door, they will never discover it. So I would just want to be good enough to show my children the door. That is one goal. You said something earlier that I never thought about before. I should probably make a note somewhere if I'm not on this podcast. You mentioned about that, like because of these things I do, like I just want to tackle my weakness. I constantly put myself in this vulnerable place. I never thought about that way. That is very true, and I think that might made my just jumping back into acting feel so natural because I'm used to being rejected. I'm being used to being vulnerable, and And I think depression really helps because I don't think anyone would ever feel as low as it's funny because now I'm saying depression really helps. Like when I was depressed, I could never have thought about like one good reason, like what good could ever come of this. But now like being at as low as dysfunctional as I was in that state, I could never be as low. Like if I was okay, if I didn't lose all my family and friends, people who really truly loved me in those states, like what could I ever have to lose?
Yeah.
Like I could never humiliate myself as much as when I was depressed. I could just like there's really nothing to comparing to that. You really feel like there's not much to lose. Like you could take your risk and fail.
Do you think you could be comfortable with the acting industry now with that rejection, failure, and no feedback if you had never gone through what you'd gone through?
But the reason why I'm glad I didn't go to theater school is I enjoyed the breadth of life experience I had. Mm-hmm. I wasn't, although when looking back, there were like breadcrumbs everywhere that I couldn't resist doing acting. But didn't know that I want to be an actor or try really hard not to be an actor allowed me to explore other parts of my life, what life could be. Exploring dancing, exploring tech, exploring like there's all the other avenues of life. And I think that really enriched. So now I'm not just an actor. I'm actually a person with rich depths and breadth in my life experience and culture. And I think if I just born in the acting family, I would get the acting skill done really well. But then I wouldn't say, I'm not saying everyone's like that, but unless you are like extremely privileged, have the resources and time to experience life and no consequences, even those people, they wouldn't understand like what it's like to be someone who like from struggling from the bottom up, right? So there's sort of a trade-off. Like for me right now, I'm glad I have a lot of like repertoire there. I'm just learning how to use them, connecting them. Versus if I'm a master of acting, but I have nothing to draw from. So
yes.
So to answer your question, I think that it's a preferred state. And also I don't know if I gave you this idea yet. Like to me, like acting or other achievement, it's secondary in life. I think my most important role in my life is being a father and being a like steward, being a torch passer. Because and everything else I do, right? Everything else I did will enrich that part experience more or make me a better father. So if there's ever a choice in front of me, choice one make me a better father, choice two make me a better actor, I would choose being a better father. Because similar idea, like we're not in a solo sports. Like a lot of the game we're playing is a long game. Sometimes longer than our lifespan. Like we come from ancestry of people that we have not the faintest ideas. We only know like 2-3 generation tops. Some people who are really good, they have like 10 generations maybe. But we have such long lineage, we have no idea what was the original purpose, what was the original goal, what was missing, passing down, and we're gonna take what we have, passing down to our next generation, and there are things will be lost too, and it's really them that's gonna like finish the task where we're set out to be. Everything else we're doing, even if you are Elon Musk, you're building all this amazing company, changing the world, sending humans to Mars. He himself is only like, what is it, gatekeeper? Sure, gatekeeper, open doors for future generations. He's himself only a torch passer. Like we might admire him for how much money he made right now, or how much he's doing for the world. But eventually, all of this, it's for something in the future that we don't have the slightest idea yet. So I think my best role I can do is to be really good at that father role, that torch passer. So that's how I position myself in life.
I think that's such a refreshing way to think about things. And I think when you were talking about that, I felt like, man, do you feel that puts more pressure on you? Or do you feel that actually takes pressure off? Yeah.
It's both, because...
I was like, it feels like, initially to me, I was like, that kind of takes some pressure off.
It's both, right? It's the best of both worlds. It's kind of like that... Yeah. It's kind of like the idea that you don't fix on the result, but you try as hard as you can, because now we know we're in a team sport and we're in a long game that we have no idea what the end goal or even the criteria for competition is. So then, if we're trying to optimize and maximize anything, right now it's just locally. Yeah, it's only we don't even move a needle. So then everything we're trying to achieve in our short lifespan, in our just by ourselves, it's that little achievement doesn't really change anything in the long span. We might influence some people around us temporarily, how much they like us, or like, oh, that's just emotions. That's just, and then people could have other reasons to feel different ways about what we do. Well, we can do the same achievement. People can flip. Everything we're trying to like maximize locally just doesn't make that much sense as much as being that really good at Twitch passer, which still require a lot of conscientious efforts and self-awareness.
Absolutely.
To be that, because a lot of time, like, I think most parents have the best intention for their children, but they don't have enough self-awareness or remember what it was like for them to do the job, to have the intended impact. So I think that's actually being the parent's hardest job, because your kids won't be appreciated for 10, 40 years. Yeah. And depends on what happened in their life, they might not be appreciated for forever.
Yeah. But hey, like you're saying, it's a marathon, right? It's a long game. Give me a crazy, funny, or memorable on-set story. Like your favorite one.
Crazy, funny. I haven't had many. Okay. Actually, there is one. This goes back to my very first job in the mountains in China. We're filming this TV series. So we're literally in the mountains. So Hendian World Studio, for those people who don't know, it's literally, imagine Las Vegas. No, actually Las Vegas is a bad example, because there's actually towns around Las Vegas. Maybe Disney World? The town, it's not even a town. There's like a village, town, different designation. It's not even a village. It's literally a place of nowhere. And people threw money at it. They build like and not even miniature. They build like full scale sites of like different dynasty, like literally like looks like the actual castles and gates of different dynasty, and like there are 5 of them. They're like much larger than like any studio you've seen. Like maybe the size of Disney World in Florida. That's true, but everything done much cheaply. So I was there, and it was in the mountains where we're shooting something, and I was assisting that day. I was sitting there, being in the mountains. It's a lot of mosquitoes, and there's something about me. I'm a mosquito magnet.
Oh no!
Like insects love me, as you can see today from this one housefly. So we're on the set, there's like a lot of tension every day. Like every day there was like $20,000-$30,000 being spent, right? So everything's important. So we're all quiet. Things are rolling, and then I see a big fly just flying around me, and then landed right on my crotch.
Oh no.
And I didn't think too much. My first thought was like, no, don't bite me there, because I was slightly allergic to mosquitoes. I have some permanent scar in my body from mosquito. Oof. Do not bite me there. I didn't think too much, so I got whatever I had in my hand. I hit it as hard as I can. That's like instinctually. I was just like, do not bite me there. Boom! And you can imagine. Immediately I was like, and then the director's like, cut! What the? And then everyone looked at me, and then for a second they realized what's going on. The whole set was laughing.
Okay, what is exciting you like right now, or like pumping you up right now at this moment? Doesn't have to be related to acting or anything. Just something that like you woke up this morning and you were like, oh, this is cool.
Well, I'm kind of. This is a bad thing to say. Kind of excited for the new pandemic, because if you notice how crazy the Omicron cases have been spreading, of course, like I mean, I don't want people to suffer and hurt. That's terrible. But I enjoy winter. I enjoy like this kind of beginning of 2020 when I was the most productive, and I think now like we finish New Year. There's nothing really happening for a while, right?
Right.
And slow in the industry for like this partisan kick in. I enjoy like this quiet and slowness. No one's seeing anybody. No one's like going on the summer, and people are at home. I think I enjoy this like precious productivity coming up.
There's something kind of, I say nostalgic, but it's not nostalgic because I didn't live in like the pioneer days, but it feels like that. I think what is the word? It's like hygge, I think is the Swedish word, Hygge. It's just that feeling of like sitting and being the cozy, right? Yeah. I agree. There was something really nice I think at the beginning of the pandemic last year, that, yeah, it'd be nice if it happened again.
It's like a little depression, like forced soul searching for many people, right?
Forced soul searching, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that it'll be like that. I'm worried because I think the world is just very angry, and I think we're just seeing exponential more anger. I'm hoping people will just be able to come back to a little bit of hygge. What would your parents say you do? Parents, guardians, or loved ones, what do they think you do for a living? How would they describe what they do for a living if somebody asked them?
Oh gosh. Actually, all of my dance friends have no idea what I do for a living. Like, they still have already. All of my startup friends, they probably still think I'm doing startup. My parents, they probably think I'm more of a video maker than I'm an actor, because the acting job so far, even though I spend most of my time training doing that. But yeah, they would think I'm a video maker.
Cool. That's nice.
I don't make.
I've had some very
compared to that.
Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
We should do this again.
I know, it was great.
There's so many different things we can talk about, and there's more conspiracy left brain things we can talk about in the industry.
I'll have to come back for season 2. Yeah. But I knew this was going to be an interesting conversation because of, just not, it's funny, we've met in person once, very briefly, at Ideal Reels. Most of the people I chat with, I've never met in person. It's all just been virtual. But I knew we would have an interesting conversation just because, I don't know, there's we just connected really quick, I think. And also, you foster a really great community of people around you. I think, with the group that we have on Facebook that reads for each other, and I think you were talking about your acting friends and stuff like that. I think you foster and Clubhouse as well too. It got me into Clubhouse, and you do a lot of great things in Clubhouse. And you're, are you still doing you were doing watch parties over the pandemic and stuff like that. I think you have allowed so many people to come together who I don't think would have ever come together if it wasn't for the pandemic. And I think brought a lot of joy to people in the times that were not so joyful. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you and your creativity and everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you for tuning into our conversation, and thank you, Clement, for being my guest this week. I love your solo sports versus team sports analogy. I think, honestly, it really drives home how important it is to form and build connection within this industry. And that has been my favorite part of this adventure so far. I hope you tune in next week as I talk to somebody who had a corporate role in advertising before she became an actor. We talk about everything from emotional health to limiting beliefs to Groupon improv classes. You do not want to miss this episode.